Hey folks, we're live. This is Ardwulf. I have with me Pat Mullen, who is the designer of A Hot Dry Season coming soon from Legion Wargames. Hi, Pat.
Hi, how you guys doing?
So, we are going to take a quick, not that quick, we're going to be on for about 2 hours, but we're going to take a look at A Hot Dry Season through the Vassal module. Hey folks, we're live. This is Ardwulf. Oh, I have with me, let me fix this, Pat Mullen, who is the designer of A Hot Dry Season. All right, there we go.
Oh, we're already having technical errors.
That's my fault, actually. So people want professionalism, they can go watch Kev. So
Ooh, well, okay.
so anyway, we're looking right now at the Legion Games, legionwargames.com website. This is where you can pre-order it. It's $70 plus shipping. Pat, why don't you tell us very briefly what the game is about, the subject matter and the scale?
It's about Operation Attleboro, which was conducted in between November 1st historically and November 25th in Warzone C in South Vietnam. And part of the whole interesting what I hope to do with this and games in the future, at the operational scale in Vietnam is just that what I just said, like saying Operation Attleboro. There are these linguistic barriers to understanding like what's happening. I mean, the best way to say it for the U.S., because there had been fighting there previously, is a good way to think of it is like to frame it would be as the first battle of Warzone C, in 1966. The U.S. Warzone C was a strategic area 70 miles north of Saigon that sat astride the Cambodian border and in close proximity to base areas along the Ho Chi Minh Trail. And ever since the South Vietnamese, North Vietnamese, Vietnam conflict began truly in earnest in 1960, Warzone C, this area that's basically displayed on the map when we get to it, was under NLF control. It was a denied area except for Tay Ninh City to the South Vietnamese government. And Warzone C was kind of like a forward supply depot for the equivalent for the front. Okay, and we're talking Soviet language here. So for the operations of an army's worth of troops in South Vietnam. So this is, as they say, Indian country, completely controlled by the NLF. By the time this operation occurs in 1966, it's just chock full of caches, cache sites. And when I say caches, I mean, we're talking about resupplying battalions. This is a main infiltration corridor into the Saigon region, as well as an exfiltration corridor for troops that were like returning to Cambodian sanctuaries. So this is like an area where troops would infiltrate in, grab supplies, formations would grab weapons, etc. So that's what we're talking about. When the operation was conducted, they found about a dozen, and they found more later, poured concrete bunkers in this area. Poured concrete, steel reinforced. So it belies the popular myth of like, just a couple of caches. When I say cache, I might mean like 10 AK-47s or something. We're talking about a large supply zone. So essentially, the U.S. was trying to deny this area permanently to the NLF. Previous operations had been conducted, sweeps had been made, but the NLF would return. So the 196 Light Infantry Brigade, newly arrived, new brigade concept, new battalion concepts within this brigade concept, had just arrived in Vietnam 2 months ago. And MACV said, hey, we want to send these guys to, we're going to send them into this Tay Ninh province, Warzone C, and their presence there, they're going to disrupt the NLF operations here. So that's kind of it in a broad scale, the setting. And Operation Attleboro, an NLF offensive conducted for a bunch of reasons. And that's one of the interesting things about the operation. They wanted to conduct an offensive and they wanted to eliminate U.S. units, but they were also interested in destroying special forces camps that had been two of the four on this map had been established in the last year. So that was starting to hamper supply efforts. So they gave Senior Colonel Cam, the 9th PLAF, otherwise known as the Main Force Viet Cong, marching orders to come in here with the 9th Division and destroy infrastructure, isolate and destroy U.S. units, and conduct an offensive. Historically, their presence was discovered early, and the 196 was, in my opinion, mishandled and kind of flung in a very aggressive manner into an area where it got ambushed. And the situation escalated quickly into a brouhaha. And then the U.S. MACV decided to reinforce the operation with really the entire 1st Infantry Division, with the exception of one battery of artillery and one battalion, which they flew in to airbase areas that are present on this map over a 2-3 day period, and actually grabbed the initiatives. Operationally surprised the PLAF. The communist forces in Vietnam had become accustomed to fighting the U.S. With the proliferation of firepower, rotary wing mobility, etc. But operationally, they were surprised with how quickly the U.S. was able to reinforce strategically within country. You know what I mean? Like send a whole division in here to deal with the problem, and so it's kind of a abortive offensive historically that became a meeting engagement, then a running battle, and then finally the NLF decided to withdraw, and they actually committed more forces to enable their withdrawal. And that's kind of the historical Attleboro in a nutshell. The campaign, I give the players a lot more freedom to make it their Attleboro. And as we continue with these, when we do these how-to plays and get to the campaign, I'll get more into the mechanics of how I do that within the campaign. But it's nobody's forced to conduct an offensive. The U.S. isn't forced to make mistakes or deploy in areas where they're initially vulnerable. I kind of accept that the players are going to know the history or know the dilemmas that they're going to deal with. There are incentives and disincentives to do things where they can conduct, this what I call a meeting engagement in 3 dimensions, on this map. So enough of me lecturing about Attleboro. We can, I'm sure that'll go on later. What other questions do you have, Gary?
Well, let's talk about ask very quickly about physical components, the state of readiness. This is, as I recall, virtually ready to go and awaiting only checking the last couple of boxes aside from the pre-order number. Correct?
Yeah, I'm doing a final play test for, if you pull up the charts, for instance, and pull up the sequence of play for people, and maybe do a fit to width. So the final art's done. What I'm doing is play testing to make sure the final art play aids actually aid play. Pull up, so you see, everybody can kind of see the sequence of play. Pull up the ISR in command and fit that to width. So the game is like ISR heavy, and the functions are very specific at times. So the play aids aren't built just to have a place for charts, but like this ISR and command chart, once you've read the rules, once you're familiar with the game, you don't have to keep going back to the rules to look at how does this communications intelligence mission work? Or how does this signals intelligence mission at the 1st Infantry Division? It tells you who, what, when, where, why. So we're play testing those to really work out the kinks and the fine points and see what little extra things we might want to add. So this is the version right before that. So there's some little things that I'm as judgmental about my games as I can be about other people's games that as we play will annoy me. I'm like, I can't wait till we add that there, but that's what we're doing with it as well. The playbook and rule book are, the rules are done. They're in proof, but they need to go to pre-production layout. So we need to do that. And then I'm about halfway done with the playbook, and that also then with more original art from my artist Ben Sones in it, and a full extended sequence of play is going to be in it, in color. And once we get all that done, that's got to go to pre-pub layout. But our estimate right now is by end of July. So if the game meets its number by the summer, Randy and I have agreed that if we meet our number by the end of the summer, it can be a Q4 release this year. If we don't meet our number by the end of the summer, it'll be at a Q1 2021. Does that answer your question?
And yes, it does. And we're looking at, for in terms of physical components, at one map. And what did we say? 3 counter sheets, 3.5 counter sheets.
3 counter sheets, half inch.
Mm-hmm.
Full layout of counters. Another thing we're adding, like if scroll down and I'll show people. So I've taken a cache marker and marked out the play area for this scenario.
Yes.
But we need that where we're gonna have counters. We've got enough room in the counter mix where it says, scenario limit, so people can lay those out if they're playing, as well as some other like little things like that for the map. But we, I think at the end we came to like something like 670 some counters. Yeah, so we
Which
had,
is, big.
Yeah, but that's with markers and everything. Mm-hmm. So we had enough room for like these little extra things that would make the game easier to play markers that we could throw in there. And I'm a firm believer in waste not, want not. If you got the full complement of 800 whatever, on 3 counter sheets, use them all, right?
I don't need more blanks.
Right, exactly. Give me all the extra status markers that you got. So that's what. And it's a one map, 22 inch by 34 inch. Yeah.
And as I think we can see, the Vassal module is in a near final state of readiness as well.
Yeah, all that Francisco really has to do is, we're still going to add some final tweaks to this to comport with the final game version, as well as, we still have to add the scenarios and stuff in here. I wanted to do the final art and get that ready before we actually pre-program the scenarios in there, which have all been play tested already. So let's talk about what we see on the map.
Okay.
So point stuff out. So everybody, just want to let everybody know there are differences between the Vassal module and the board game, more along the lines to make the Vassal module to do the hidden and limited information things on a Vassal module, where you can hover. So hover over like concealment marker number 1, Gary. It's where you can see everything. Either player can hover over stuff and see stuff. So we'll show a little bit of the markers and the logic of some how we do like fixed and concealed later. But right now, I just want to walk people through some of the components and markers before we start playing. So hover over stuff and ask me questions, Gary.
I'm
your
we got our standard complement of NATO-style unit symbols here, but there's a couple I don't recognize. ADF. What do we mean? What does ADF mean?
Okay, air defense fire.
Okay.
Right.
And then we've got this HHC U.S. company. What's that?
HHC, headquarters and headquarters company.
Okay.
So what are you pointing at? You're pointing at the HHC there, kind of south of the bunkers? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you hover on that and make it big, so what we see there is 128. So that's the 1st Battalion of the 28th Regiment. I'm using the CARs, the regimental distinctions for these battalions, right? So 128 and all U.S. infantry battalions would be marked similarly. That means it's the HHC company. And you see with it is that battalion's Charlie company, 128. And the values we see on them are, so the HHC, there are mortars there. So we see a little artillery shell that indicates that it's indirect fire with a range of 3, that little white number to the top. And it's got a 3 fire value, it's got a 4 defense, and it's got 6 movement. And in the upper right corner, we see a value 6. That's the unit's command rating. And as we play this, that has nothing to do with combat. It has to do with how every unit in the game for both sides performs what I call non-combat functions. So for like intelligence or reconnaissance units, it's how they're rating for how well they would do intelligence or reconnaissance functions. For infantry units, it would be, their chance of going on patrol. Their chance of success if they're doing a cache search in a hex, that sort of thing. So those are the basic counter values there. So we see them, good old Americans, 1st to the 28th.
Okay.
And so let's hover somewhere else.
All right. And we have, looks like 2 special forces units over here. Over on Nui Baden, which is a mountain in sort of halfway in the middle of the map. We have what looks like a signals intelligence unit.
That's correct. That is the Army Security Agency detachment. And with it is A324 Special Forces detachment. Yep. That's it exactly. And you guys
Okay.
see, I really love that. One of the things that my artist Ben came up with for the special forces was the tiger stripe camo for the, and I like that. So he won my heart with that one.
I like
So
that
let's
too.
move on. Okay.
All right, and I think that's we got some recon units down here that are
Where,
probably what are down along the highway
okay. So that
south
those
of Dewey Baden.
in this scenario, this is the 1st Squadron of the 11th Armored Cavalry Regiment. So the one to the left there, if you hover over that D troop, 1st of the 11th, those are M48 Pattons.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have E troop, which are Paladins, 155 self-propelled artillery. And next to them, they're armored cav. They don't have those are M113 ACAV troops, A, B, and C. And so let's look at those in the values. So you see the white box means it's mechanized
Around the movement factor.
Around the movement factor, and the little white shell that's to the right of the attack value, that means it's direct fire capable, which we'll see in the game about direct fire capable as it moves on. It's capable of doing that. And we saw in the other two, the tanks were direct fire capable and mechanized, and the artillery is mechanized, and it's got a strength of 9, and it's indirect fire capable with a range of 12 miles. A lot of long shooting for the M2s. All right, so you want to hover over. Okay,
well,
go ahead.
To ask about the terrain, we've got Tainan City down here.
Right.
We have off of the play area map of the scenario.
Sure.
We have the Tainan West U.S. base, correct?
Right.
Okay.
So those are terrain types. So in the game, and that's the only area, U.S. base is like a terrain type. And we see Tainan City where it's like, looks built up. God bless Ben, right? Looks very built up. That is urban built terrain type. And then you see like in Hex 1118, if you want to get in close, that's Bin Trun, that's a town. And then just north of that in 1117, the things that look like little fields, that's Marsh Paddy. And then if we go up to 1115, for instance, that's terrain type light woods. And there's a blockhouse there. That's that little star-shaped structure. And you see a little creek going on, and there has no game effect. It's just, make the map look more holistic.
Okay.
And the roads you see all around Tainan City, those are primary roads. Right.
And then the tan roads then would be the secondary roads.
Right.
And then we have over here, we have a stretch of unfinished road.
Right.
Branching off that Highway 13.
Right. Yeah. And this is why at this scale, it's such a joy to dig deep, do the research, and you're given these unique things that you have to throw in the game. So very important to this whole struggle were these unfinished roads. The South Vietnamese government in the late 50s and to a certain extent in the early 60s was trying to expand highways and road systems in this area near the Michelin, which is, the Michelin rubber plantation is here. And so they excavated these road beds. But, because of the war, that's all that was done. So there are no culverts, little bridges over things, all the little stuff you need for a highway system or road system to continue. So what they essentially provide is a lower movement cost pathway through those areas, only passable by leg or mechanized. And so for instance, we'll get into movement rates and stuff as we play the game, but a mechanized unit or a motorized unit, those units that you saw they have a movement rating of 6, and on a primary road, they can move. It's a half a movement point cost, so they can jet around, 12 movement points, but once you get to those unfinished roads, it costs 2. But it's also, frequently, if you look at like Hex 2911, so we have LTL 13 going through 2911, a secondary road, and then that spur goes north. That's going through dense jungle. That's the only way a mechanized unit can enter dense is on a road. So for the U.S. players, sometimes getting those units, and there's some mechanized infantry units in the game, those pathways are precious, but they can also be death traps. Because if you can't retreat in the game, you're going to eliminate the unit. So if they can get surrounded, which is kind of easy to do, and attacked, and if they can be forced into retreat, and being surrounded here would be north and south of, say, hex 2909. Bad news for the mechanized unit. So, any other questions?
Well, so let's talk about scenarios. So, how many scenarios in the game? I know that scenario 1 here is a bit of a non-historical situation. The rest of the scenarios are historical. How many scenarios total?
There are 7 scenarios, shorter scenarios, and one and campaign. This, where we're going to play the introduction. In this campaign, I could not find just a simple tactical situation that did what I wanted the intro scenario to do, which is give each player as many of the bells and whistles and functions like bunkers and mechanized units, and as we'll see later, you're going to have some air mobile units, and everything, all those bells and whistles, and create a scenario for it. So the intro scenario is a very simple scenario, but with a setup that's flawed for both sides to start off with, to just kind of fight it out for 4 turns, right?
Mm-hmm.
And learn how all those game functions work. But the next 6 scenarios, there are 3 basic and 3 intermediate, and this and the other, actually 2 basic. This and the other 2 basic scenarios kind of all build on each other. So there's another basic scenario because this scenario does not have local force in it, that has local force, and we'll show how those work. And there's another scenario that has an NLF attack historical on trying to attack this. If you go to 2215, trying to attack Camp Sweden, and the commitment of Mike Force, the Special Forces reaction force, to stop them. And so players run through that, and then there's some intermediate scenarios, and then the campaign, which is 25 turns, unless through operational chit play it could be extended to 30 turns. Because Operation Attleboro, it only went to November 25th because that's when they called the operation off. In the campaign, it's your Attleboro, so there's uncertainty about that. It's
so another question is: has this topic ever been covered at this scale before in wargaming?
I think it's been. Yeah, there have been. I titles, but there have been several. My personal favorite is Silver Bayonet by GMT Games.
Mm-hmm.
I think the re-release with the new art and the added rules, they did it the best. At this scale. Originally, I was doing this as trying to do this as a sequel, a part 2 to Silver Bayonet, but it just wasn't going to work out. To Silver Bayonet's credit, it was a ground-up build. It really reflects the Battle of the Ia Drang. And I think, in my opinion, to do justice to these operations, you can't just say, I have a series set of rules and expand on it. What I'm trying to do is have there be some core DNA, but they're all very different. The capabilities and the conflict change greatly from year to year, let alone 3 years later, 4 years later. The objectives are different. The political situation's different. Other factors enter into things. So but I would say that's the cream of the crop. Other games at this doing operational, trying to do a serious operational treatment of the Vietnam drawn from the Vietnam conflict.
Now, another thing that I noticed, more an observation than a question, is that this is at the company scale. How big are the hexes? 1 mile hexes? Am I remembering that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is a scale that I think lots of us would want to normally associate with tactical or high-level tactical game. I think we will see over the course of however many videos we end up doing on this, that this is in fact an operational game. It's built on operational elements rather than being a tactical game that I kind of was looking at in the first place. Well, I was like, is that really? And no, this is really an operational game, which makes sense for Vietnam.
That's because all us damn grognards play so much World War II. Okay, just seriously, and read so much.
That's absolutely it.
Right, operational scale depends. Okay, if you're reflecting it, if you're trying to reflect the operational decisions that the commander makes, I mean, essentially, I spent many years in the Army, working in intel and for Department of Defense, and operational depends.
Mm-hmm.
it depends on the operation. It depends on the theater. It depends on the terrain. It depends on the mission being accomplished.
Mm-hmm.
So I always say, like, operational. Yeah, if you're on the East Front, you could be talking about division, and 44.
Exactly.
You could be talking about divisions and regiments. But if you're like in New Guinea in 1942, you could be talking about battalions or companies.
Yes.
So it all just depends. But yeah, so but in this, like in how I designed the game, I'm going to move one of your pieces, Gary.
Yeah,
so hold on. All right. So if you go down to like where that American battalion was sitting, this is at this time the standard U.S. infantry MTO battalion.
Mm-hmm.
So it's 3 rifle companies and an HHC. And this is something that's changing. And that's one of the reasons I decided to do this at company scale. There are 7 different battalion MTOs that are present that end up showing up on this map. There's the mechanized infantry. There's a test light infantry battalion MTO. But for all of them, I look at these units as these 4 pieces are a battalion. So, you've got a headquarters company. And so, like, if you think battalion scale in 3 hexes or 5 hexes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to put this guy on patrol. I'm going to put this guy on patrol. That's all that's really happening when a battalion piece goes on patrol, right? If they're hardening their ZOC by doing that.
Mm-hmm.
You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But you still have like one company there. So that's kind of the way I looked at it. But no, a very good point. Yeah, and it's, and that's one of the reasons I think a lot of operational level games that have tried to be done on drawn from the Vietnam conflict have failed. People have mistaken battalion equals operational, and then they try to do a theater level game, and that's just a different echelon. That bleeds into the strategic. Or they try to throw battalions on a smaller map, and you get like the Battle of the Bulge in the jungle. Okay. and that's one of the things I think Silver Bayonet got right was the scale. Prime thing that I was influenced on by Silver Bayonet here. Yes, hidden movement, but there have been a lot of games with hidden movement. But specifically, company scale, mile hexes, day turns to do operational scaling. In the Vietnam
this
conflict.
is a definitely, and I think we will see as we proceed. This is a very interesting take on hidden movement. I mean, hidden movement stuff that I could think of dates back to the mid 70s. GDW was doing those double blind games, for example. And I think we'll see that we have a very interesting way to mechanically handle hidden movement here without necessarily doing things like pre-plotted movement and, writing down unit locations on scraps of paper and stuff.
By the way, guys, Panza, who's our moderator today, he's collating questions. So if you guys want to ask questions about anything in the chat, we're going to stop every now and then and just answer a bunch of summed up questions that you guys might have about the game as we keep going on here. So just want to throw that out there. All right. So
pulling up the sequence of play here.
All right.
So
I'm going to pull off these ADF markers, which I use to mark my setup zone when I set up the NLF. And let me actually. Are you in referee mode?
I'm in as U.S. player, actually.
You're in as the U.S. player? Okay, so go to referee mode for a second. Join the game as referee, and let me just show them a little bit of what the NLF looks like. And then I'll actually place my concealed units and fight it out.
I'm in as observer now.
Okay, hit the chair button and go in as referee.
I don't see referee. Can I do that after starting the scenario?
Actually, go ahead and do it right now. Haha, I was the referee. Haha.
Well,
so now you're the referee. There you go.
There we go.
All right, so let's hover over the one of the bunkers for a second. And so what we have is there's a NVA battalion, PAVN battalion in those 2 bunkers, and this 4 U.S. infantry battalion on patrol is bumped into them. Okay, and then if we hover over concealment marker 1, we'll see from the 9th Division divisional elements a PLAF recon company, the 1st of the 95th, and their 3rd battery of the 94th air defense. They got there. Those are some ZU-22 20mm quads. And
both the red firepower digit and the little dot above them refer to the fact that it's anti-air.
Anti-tank capable.
Anti-tank
Right.
capable,
So,
okay.
right. So in the game, as we'll see, only the NLF need this. Certain units that they have are AT capable by their nature. So, a 20 quad Mike, right, is not going to put the hurting on an M48 Patton, but it will stop their movement. So their Zocs are effective against US mechanized units, if you follow. In the game, concealment markers, so concealed NLF units ignore Zocs. US mechanized units ignore Zocs. However, if US units go on patrol, it hardens their Zocs against concealment markers. NLF anti-tank capable units or units that go on patrol can harden their Zocs against US mechanized units. So yeah, but that's it. They can say, whoa, we're going on, we're here and we're stopping your movement there, Mr. M113, because they got to respect the fact that they could get a little hurt if they just blow by them.
Mm-hmm.
And if you just go to concealment marker number 3, and then we'll just start playing. Some more funky units. So there's a battery of a very strong battery of 120 millimeter mortars there. The 419, the first of the 93rd, and then the fourth of the 93rd are of course we're doing a live stream. I'm forgetting the designation, but those are essentially recoilless rifle battery. Okay. So it's a multifunction. It's AT capable. It's air defense capable. It's capable of indirect fire, but it also is capable of direct fire. And as we play, we'll see that being capable of everything doesn't mean you can do everything. Yeah,
Okay.
You're kind of limited what you can do on that day. So, all right. So why don't you join now as the U.S. player?
Okay.
And I am going to put my units in the concealment chart, which will show people later, because I already had them underneath that. One. So, this is just a how-to play for Gary as well as everybody else. I'm trying to you can't look at my units, man. I'm just threw them down where I was going to put them under the concealment, which gives you a little bit of intel.
We have some U.S. air units, which we'll get to on the air base card. And these air units, at least when they're not on the map, this is where they live.
Yeah, I'm getting bored with the exposition too. Let's play this thing.
Yeah, that's where we're at.
So let me.
So
toggle.
We got the sequence of play up here.
And
we see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 phases. The first of which is the command phase. So step A in the command phase is and we can see the little flags on the.
What'd you say, Ben? You broke up a little bit.
Sorry about that. That's our buddy Discord doing that. First step in the command phase is the aviation step, and we can see that there's a little U.S. flag next to it that tells us the U.S. player does this step, as opposed to both sides. And we see later on that there's steps that the NLF does that the U.S. doesn't.
Yeah, Ben. God bless. Hire an artist. Hire a good one. Hire somebody who knows graphic design. Yeah,
and the game too. I mean, I think I'm very happy with the player aids that I see here in the Vassal module. So,
all right. So let's pull that thing up. So we've started. Now let's take a look at victory in the scenario.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
So for this scenario, the special rules are fire support based Dao Tiang is available, which we'll see in a second. NLF units may not be reconstituted. If they're destroyed, they may not be reintroduced into the game, and the same goes for the US. So no reconstitution. And there's no cache searches in this scenario. The US player may not perform cache searches. Victory points. So you, my American friend, you get 1 point per PLAF or PAVN footstep destroyed. You get 2 points per bunker destroyed. You get 2 points per specialized step destroyed. That's basically anything artillery, headquarters, air defense, any of that kind of stuff. And 3 points if the 9th Division headquarters is destroyed.
Okay.
I get 2 points per foot movement ground step of yours I destroy. And I get 3 points per special forces step, aviation step, artillery step, or mechanized step destroyed. And I get In addition to those step things, if I eliminate any U.S. units, I get a U.S. unit. I get an extra 3.
Mm-hmm.
And our goal here is a draw. In this scenario, is if the U.S. is positive, because we take the higher total and subtract the lower total. If you are +3 to +6, you win. If you are +6 to +9, you win a Pyrrhic victory. If you are +10 or higher, you win a tactical victory. And I win a Pyrrhic victory if I'm anywhere from +1 to -1, basically, to +2 US VPs.
Mm-hmm.
And I win tactical victory if it's -2 US VPs or lower. Yeah, and in this scenario specifically, it's you subtract the NLF total from the US total.
Okay.
Most of the others, it's higher to lower, but we'll continue.
So kill the enemy is the victory condition.
Yes. So
don't be a knucklehead and lose. Do we mention this and I missed it? That signals intelligence unit on the mountains got to survive, or they have to hold that position.
So let's take a look at them. There's no way I'm going to get after those guys. Me being the wily NLF commander for this scenario, there's no way I'm getting over there to get after. That's not an automatic victory in the game at all. Victory in the campaign is dependent on seizure of infrastructure, losses, and many other things. I'll say this: in the campaign, if the U.S. player loses that early on in the campaign or loses that ASA unit, it might be very close to restart game over. And now, in the campaign, there's no way the NLF can make its way there and attack that guy and destroy him. But the U.S. player has to be wary of that. So in the campaign, like in the designer's notes I'm writing, I'm like, be prepared to reinforce that mountaintop. And it'll become really clear for people watching when they see what that unit does in terms of the limited information. So, all right, so that's that. The only thing you need to do, variable for this scenario for setup, is those guys at Camp Sweda, the 2 special forces unit.
Yep.
You need to place them anywhere you want within 5 hexes of Camp Sweda.
Oh, really?
Or keep them in Camp Sweda, yes.
That sounds good.
Okay. Now, we've got to unfix your units that can be unfixed. So, in this scenario, my guys in the bunkers and your American guys adjacent start the scenario fixed. But your HHC and that other guy, they start unfixed. So go ahead and you'll just set them to unfixed. The functions.
All right, yeah. So we're just, in the Vassal module, we're just right-clicking on this. In the physical game, is there a marker for this, or is it the reverse side, or what?
There is a marker. So you just unfixed the wrong guy. He's fixed.
They're all so the adjacent guys are fixed. The non-adjacent guys are unfixed. Correct.
Ooh, who are they? Ooh. All right. So let me find unit status markers.
Now, let's briefly say what the game means to be fixed or unfixed.
So, a common theme, commonly used technique in all games about the Vietnam conflict, be it tactical, operational, strategic, is the idea that the NLF are concealed or have hidden information, and the U.S. side is not, and the NLF player has global access to information about the U.S. player. In this title, another thing is frequently in games is units that are hidden cannot be attacked. For instance, they've got to be revealed somehow before the U.S. player could go after them. In this game, that is not the case. Concealed units can be attacked, however, there are penalties, some often quite severe. There's also another layer of information in the game, limited information. So let's take those guys you unfix. Go ahead and fix them again, Gary. All right. In the board game, any units that are unfixed, which just means not identified. So from my perspective as the NLF, I know that there's infantry type units there, but I don't know who they are, and I don't know how they're disposed. And being fixed in military lingo means targetable. Okay, I know who's there and I know who they're disposed. So unfixed means there's an enemy presence there, and I kind of know what kind of unit types they could be, but I don't know exactly who they are.
Mm-hmm.
So in the board game, they're covered with the unfixed marker, which is handily a question mark, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so in the game, for stacking purposes, if those guys run fixed, and I'm gonna pretend those guys down there are NLF companies, okay? So because this is the only way this would happen, and you had a concealment marker, and then you had a fixed NLF unit. That's how you would stack them. And go ahead and hover over it, because you can't hover on a board, right? So the US player could examine the stack and he'd say, oh, there's a fixed, there's the fixed guy on top, there's a concealment marker, and then he comes to the question mark and he can't look any lower. And that's fine. And he can know that there are 2 units. Yeah, there's 2 things going on there, right? But that's all he knows. Okay. There's a definite confirmed, right? Right. 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 And from the US perspective, if you're dealing with NLF concealed units, you can still shoot at them. And you might be shooting up the jump or not. You know what I'm saying? It could be a dummy, could be a decoy, and there are more severe penalties even then if you're dealing with concealed units. Frankly, in most post World War II titles, and even World War II, to be honest with you, you could take out the concealment and have a game with fixed and unfixed, and you'd probably approaching to something more than the most open information games that we play, because that's just how warfare works. It's about, you don't have a clean, concise, common operating picture. But anyway, so let's start unfixing your unfixable. So your guys there, those 2 guys that aren't adjacent, they are unfixed. And your 2 special forces guys, they're unfixed. And your guys on top of the mountain are unfixed. And your mech, the mech can't, that's mechanized and motorized are never unfixed. Okay, they're always fixed. Now let's go down to around a fire support base Dao Tiang. You can hover over it so people can see fire support base Dao Tiang. That's an area that a fire support base was actually constructed during this operation quite quickly. So that's in the campaign. There's a counter for it, and it transforms. I'll move them. This town hex into fire support base Dao Tiang, which then becomes a US base hex type. But all your units there are unfixed, so go ahead and unfix them. Yeah, and let's look at those guys for a second. We got, these are air mobile infantry and air mobile infantry, combat support company from the 2nd of the 503rd from the 173rd Airborne Brigade, and we've got A3319, which is 1 battery in the game. It's at air mobile artillery. So you guys can see the little flesh air mobile artillery. They're all unfixed too.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So go ahead and unfix them. Okay.
There we go there.
And show everybody what we're doing in the vassal module. I'm going to pull a guy out and unfix him, and then really everybody of mine starts concealed, so it doesn't matter. So here we go. Scenario, but if you by concealment marker 7 and 1, we can all see the 2nd company of the 2nd Battalion of the 271st Regiment.
We're there.
And what? Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you. And
Okay.
if I can hear you, then the stream can hear you.
Okay. So in 2910, I'm going to unfix him, and this is what I'm seeing when I look at Gary's units module.
So
a
an
generic
infantry type unit.
Generic. Okay. So I'll toggle them out, and you get out of here, battalion. You don't belong in this scenario. All right. So that's it. We're ready to go. So let's pull up the sequence of play and see what happens.
All right. So here's our U.S. aviation step. U.S. player determines the status of aviation units. So those are obviously these guys. So the air mobile, which ones are the transports again?
Okay, so let me pull up base because I can see it. I'm sneaky. So if we look all over these guys, most of the aviation assets here, they're from the 335th aviation company, which is basically from the 173rd. So the first two guys on the top, right? Those are standard aviation. So those are Hueys.
Okay.
So they can transport up to, at full strength, not on their flip side, but at full strength, a full infantry company. And you guys can see there's no movement value; they just have an attack value, and they're direct fire capable. Okay. So now let's go to the heavy, to the far bottom left. That's a Chinook. Okay, the third of the 335. So that's heavy. Oh yes, how appropriate.
Yes.
So let's see. So they're Chinooks. These are the only things that the U.S. has that can move artillery in the game. A full strength Chinook unit can carry, when carrying stuff, a full artillery battery, or at half strength, it can also carry 2 full strength infantry companies.
Okay.
Your choice, right? And at reduced strength, it could carry 1 infantry company or a reduced strength artillery battery. Okay. Then next to him, we see a gunship detachment. So you see the little A, that's attack aviation. It's got a strength of 4 and it's direct fire capable. And then the final 2 units look the same. One is 5335 and one is 214. Observation. They're observation aviation units. So they have a strength of 1 in terms of fire strength, and they're direct fire capable, but they're also capable of performing surveillance missions, which we'll show later. Okay. You understand? Yeah.
Yep.
All right. And the status is that we're only using this one because it's the only one available in this scenario. Fire support based out Tiang. So it's got a basing limit of 6. And there's 2, so it could be in ready, which is where they are, or they could be in the aborted section, which we'll see if that happens, or they could be refitting if they're being repaired that turn.
Okay.
And then there's 2 other little locations on the map, and you see one Guam. That's when the B-52s are available. They're placed there. And then there's an OV-1C surveillance aircraft unit that can be placed in Vung Tau Army Airfield. Just it's a place to put the counter.
Right.
Okay.
All right. So now, as I recall, there are loading and unloading missions that we will need to undertake. So we're going to drop the 2 Hueys.
So we're in the command phase.
Right. We're not moving them here now?
No,
okay,
we are not.
We'll put them right back then.
All right. So we're in the command phase aviation step. So it's simple. You determine the status of your aviation. It's done. Right.
Okay.
So we don't really have to do that now. We're not doing any reinforcements.
Okay.
We're not doing any replacements. There's nothing to reorganize. We'll get to that later. And in the initiative step, we figure out who the initiative player is. The initiative player is you.
Okay.
And at this time,
that's set by the scenario.
Right.
The first turn. Okay.
Right. So you need to determine who goes first or last and we'll pull up the game turn marker. Who goes first or last in the fires phase, and who goes first or last in the operations phase.
And here is the snazzy game turn track here. So, okay. So, I will let you go first, actually.
In both phases?
So I have to declare both now?
Correct.
I will. That's an interesting decision to make.
Yes.
Then.
Yes.
I will go first in the ISR. I'll go first in both phases. How about that? It'll make it an easy choice at least.
So we will do this and flip these initiative markers. And that way we know you're first. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So we will now close that. Goodbye, game turn track. We will see you later. And let me double check the scenario. It says NLF initiative. I'm questioning my own damn scenario. Who's the initiative player to start? Who wrote this thing? Yeah, you are the initiative player.
Okay.
Horrible administration by me. Okay. So in setting up the game, I was a poor opponent. So that happens in the initiative phase, and the other things that happen are like there's some stuff with red haze, which we won't get into in this. It's for a later game. That's the OV1C that's not in play. The NLF player can move in some off-map tracks that we'll show you guys later. It's kind of on the concealment marker. It represents abstracted movement in Cambodia. And the last thing that happens is determining who's fixed or unfixed for both sides.
Okay.
And we'll really walk through that at the beginning of turn 2. So that's that. So that was the command phase real quick. And now we go to the first ISR phase.
Okay. So in here we have the concealment step. You've already done this, right?
Right.
Okay.
I have no available concealment markers.
Okay.
That can conceal eligible units on the map, or that I can place as dummies. So we immediately then move to where, like you said, with the flag, it's only you, the aviation.
Right. Okay. So in that case, this is where I would move my 2 Hueys down here.
Right. And so you can move. So the way aviation moves, every aviation step, the aviation can move anywhere they want on the map.
Given the scale that makes, and what they are, that makes complete sense.
Right. So if they're based on map, they can move anywhere they want on map. But loading or unloading missions take place at the end of the phase.
Okay.
So yeah, you're moving there to load those guys. Go ahead and load them up.
All right. So they will be loaded. What's the physical handling of this? You put the guys that are being loaded on top of.
Who's carrying them? Like like a mule.
This looks good.
Like a mule. And I will. So what you want to do now is click on each one of those units and give them a mission. And you can show people what it looks like in the vassal module, and I'll throw the marker down. So the limitation for aviation units is they can only do 2 missions per day. So each one of those aviations unit, click on them and click on the mission function.
Okay.
Yep. And you see in the vassal module, he's got one little target mission thing to the right. And when he gets second mission, he'll be mission complete. And you guys see here next to him, there's that blue marker. And on the flip side of the blue markers are complete. That's how you mark your aviation.
Okay.
All right. So you want to move anybody else, Gary? You want to move any of your craft out to go take a look or anything like that?
Yeah, let's do that. We've got, we said that these, the guys with the O aviation markers are the ones that can do air recon.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And the guys in the bunkers are not fixed. So I think what we're actually going to do is drop the heavy air support on one of those bunkers.
Okay, so you're going to move those guys there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they will go in the hex with the bunker.
You can do that.
Okay.
Yep.
And we'll mark them with a mission.
No mission.
No mission for
that? Because that comes in the fires phase. So right now you're just moving your aviation.
Okay,
right.
So but just moving them is not a mission.
No.
Okay.
But the way you're thinking is good. You're thinking about what you want to do with them as you move them, as opposed to moving them. Like, what do I want to do later? Okay. So there you go there. And what about the observation?
All right. So observation. Let's put the observation guy, the observing guy, up here on top of 2810. That's concealment marker 7.
You could be on top, or you could be adjacent if you want to do an observation.
Does that make a difference to the result?
It could, but not in this case. I'll get to that granularity later if it comes up.
Then we can be adjacent.
Okay. And you got another guy?
We'll go over here.
Okay. And lastly, my friend, you had that Chinook. What do you want to do with it? You want to load up one of the artillery units to try to get it closer, maybe get in range?
So this guy can carry non-air mobile units, right?
Yes. Everybody can carry non-air mobile units. The difference is we'll talk about loading and unloading, but air mobile units can land in places and in situations because those battalions are specifically trained in those types of operations where, like a standard infantry unit, which could still be picked up, may not be able to land in specific places.
All right. Yeah, we'll pick up the other artillery unit.
All right. All right, there you go. Give him a mission. All right. So your aviation step is done now, correct?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I think so.
Right. Now the NLF player, when movement is done, if he wants to, if he's in a position where he can try to do ADF fire with ADF capable.
Okay.
Let me see if I indeed want to do that. I do. Basically because I want to show people how the game works. So this guy, who was in concealment marker number 1, pops out. And because I'm going to do ADF on 214, so to do that, I unfix myself. I fix myself. Boom. I'm visible. Now you know who I am.
Right.
And I am going to attempt ADF fire on you.
Okay.
ADF occurs, it's a reactive thing, and it occurs at the end of when U.S. movement aviation step is completed. And it also occurs when aviation units do missions adjacent. So let's pull up that old ADF chart, shall we? ADF resolution.
Right here.
I'm going to fit to width. Fit to width's not good. Fit. Yeah, there we go. Fit width. So let's look at you guys see it's a 2d6 resolution, and it's strength point based. And that first column with the asterisks, that's the small arms ADF fire, which is, if it comes up, we'll deal with it. That is not the case. We are on the 2 to 4 column. So let's go down and look at the attack modifiers. So you're not a transportation aviation unit.
Right.
So the first 2 fly. I'm not in a bunker, so that doesn't matter. But I am the PLAF 394th unit.
Okay.
So I get a +1. And you're not conducting a surveillance mission yet. Okay?
Okay.
So that does not apply. And you do not have more than 3 attack aviation AV interadjacent, or more than 6 attack aviation AV interadjacent to the hex.
Okay.
So you
those would stack if I did have 6, correct?
Right. So let's say this guy was here, right?
Right.
The one you moved over the bunkers. If he was here, then, and he's not mission complete. So that would give a -1 to the roll I'm about to make.
Okay.
However, we're doing this with a +1 on the 2 to 4. So let's see what happens. 2d6. Roll them bones.
So that looks
that
like
is
7.
called a nothing.
Okay.
So nothing happened. So that is that.
Okay.
Now we move to the next phase. The aviation step is over.
Okay, so that was during the aviation step. After movement, though. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
ADF is a reactive mission.
Okay.
And it's by the choice of the NLF player. And it occurs at 2 times: when you're done moving, and if you do a mission adjacent to a unit where I could do it. That's it.
Okay.
And it only affects rotary craft, not fixed wing in the game.
Okay.
Right.
All right. So then we go to the intelligence step.
Okay.
Intelligence functions are performed by eligible units. So let's talk about this.
All right. So what you only have 1 in the game. So let's go to the ISR and command chart. You have the ASA detachment, which is at the very top of the list. They're on the mountain. So who? Them. When can they do it? The first and final ISR phase.
Okay.
What's the effect? So you guess if a CM is PLAF or PAVN. So pick any concealment marker on the map, and you get to guess if it's PLAF or PAVN.
Okay. So what you have done though is you have so that the one that's outside the concealment marker is not eligible for this, right?
Correct. He's fixed. You know who he is.
Okay.
He's in trouble, in fact. But yeah.
Okay. So we'll guess that the same unit that was stacked with him, he's PLAF. So we'll guess that the other guy that was stacked with him, there is another guy stacked with him, right? Or do you have to tell me that?
Excuse me? I missed the end. You blipped out for a second.
3010. The same stack as that ADF unit.
Right.
We'll guess that the other unit under that concealment marker is PLAF as well.
Okay, so let's return to the chart. You are correct. Okay. So now you make a CR check. So Is it modified by terrain? So we look over. No, there's no terrain modifier. So you've got a 6. So roll a d10, and you want a 6 or less.
Oh no, we have an 8.
Oh no. So if successful,
Mm-hmm.
we would have revealed the CM with the units fixed. If unsuccessful, we reveal it with the units unfixed.
Okay.
And if an NLF HQ is present, and this is a little thing that was in the playtesting that we did. If you were successful and they were fixed, and there was an HQ there, then we reveal the 2 nearest concealment markers fixed as well.
Okay.
Your choice. But that did not happen. What happens is this. I go into my secret layer of concealed units, and I place this down. And the concealment marker now goes away. And there's a little thing that says remove from play, and it sends it to the game turn marker where I can gather at the beginning of the next game turn. So there's this unknown dude here, and on top of him is the ADF unit. All right, so that was your intelligence mission. That's the only intelligence capable guy you have in this. So now we move to.
Okay. So the area units that I sent down there, that's not part of the same type of function?
No. Look at step D, which comes next.
Okay.
Surveillance step.
Okay.
US only.
Okay. So these are those on the ISR and command markers too? Or the chart?
Yeah.
Okay. So in that case, it looks like what we're doing is surveillance versus concealment marker.
Or you could do, you have another choice. Surveillance versus unfixed units.
Okay, so I'll tell you what. With the unit on the right there, we'll do surveillance versus unfixed units. And with the other unit, we'll do surveillance versus concealment marker.
Okay, so let's do the concealment marker first. And so we take a look at the terrain I'm in. So we look at that mission.
Okay.
And you see it says, is there a terrain modifier? And it says target hex. And then in notes, you see it says use aviation modifier if available.
Okay, and you're in dense jungle.
Right. So let's look at the terrain effects chart for the people.
That is -3, -4 to aviation.
Right. So in the terrain CR mod, correct. So you need to roll on a D10. You've got a CR, so you need to roll a 2 or less.
Okay. And zeros are 10s, correct?
Correct. No, zeros are zeros.
Okay. Well, I didn't get it, so.
Right.
All right, so nothing happens there.
So we give him a mission.
Okay. And this other guy will...
Wrong guy got the mission.
Did we... Okay.
Because you just did the concealment marker.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Now this is a little different. Let's look back at the chart.
Okay.
Let's do surveillance versus unfixed.
Okay.
So you choose a unit either in your hex or in an adjacent hex with unfixed units, and you make a CR check. So go ahead and make a CR check. Same thing. It's,
Yep, that's not it.
But let's look at the results.
Okay. So if successful, which is a no, all units in a 1 hex radius are fixed, but if unsuccessful, units in the selected hex are fixed.
Right. So it's like an area effect thing. This is automatic.
Okay.
Right. He'll get selected. If there were, for instance, if they were like this, right, and you targeted that guy, the other guy wouldn't be unfixed. Just that guy.
Okay.
Okay. Give him a mission. Okay. So next comes in the sequence of play
the reconnaissance step.
Yep.
So
you resolve them, followed by me. So go ahead.
All right. So this is where I put guys on patrol?
If you want, yes.
Okay. I think I don't at this time.
Okay.
Unless I do. Yeah, let's put this lead special forces guy. We'll put this guy on patrol.
Okay, so go ahead and now let's look at the Where ground unit status.
Mm-hmm.
Let's look for patrol.
Right. So
Okay.
leg movement units can do it.
Right.
Okay. Now do I have to make a check for this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So the effect is there are going to be combat penalties.
Mm-hmm.
You can't attack. Your movement value halved. You can't perform any more CR check, but your Zoc is hardened.
Right.
Okay. And you get +1 to any reaction movement or hasty attack CR rolls.
Okay.
Okay. And it's removed if you're disrupted, if you do a reaction move, if you do a hasty attack, and in the refresh phase when the turn ends.
Okay.
So you want to put him on patrol.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. All right. So you see a CR,
right?
Which I know who the units are, guys. I've played this a million times. So he's got a 7, right? So we look at the terrain effects chart, and he's in Jungle Hills. So let's look at Jungle Hills.
-4.
Ooh, are you sure you want to go on patrol? You only got a 30% chance of doing it.
Okay, possibly not then. It would be 40 if a 0 is a 0, actually.
Yes, actually.
But
I think
still,
you just befuddled me with that question. I think Gordon would remember, but one is actually 0 is 10. Sorry.
Okay. Well, that's what I thought. All right.
Yeah.
So 30%
live streaming and whatnot. Okay.
I don't think we're gonna do that. So
all right,
we'll leave him as is, and that means no one is going on patrol at this time.
Okay. So then your next thing you can do is ground reconnaissance segment.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you chose wisely based on walking through the logic, because what do you do in the ground reconnaissance step? Specialized reconnaissance unit, attempt to reveal concealment markers or fix unfixed units.
Right.
So that guy is a specialized reconnaissance unit.
Mm-hmm.
So we now want to see, are there any concealment markers within 3 hexes?
There are.
Right. There's also a neat function in this. If you right click on him and it should show recon range, go ahead and do that. Francisco built a pretty cool module.
There we go.
Yep, lights up the jungle, right?
Okay,
all right,
cool.
So there you go, right? So there it is. It's within 3 hexes. Cool. You could turn that sucker off. You can get him. So now he's within 3 hexes. Mm-hmm. So we go back to let's go to the ISR and command and look at reconnaissance versus CM.
Okay.
Who can do it? U.S. Special Forces. In the first and final ISR phase, you choose it and you make a CR check, the unit. And if you're successful, the CM's revealed and the units are fixed. And if unsuccessful, no effect. And terrain modifier is the target hex,
which is -3.
am right.
So
you got 40%. Right, 40% chance. Here we go.
No.
Failed. Okay. So he doesn't get a mission or anything. That's just his job. Okay. So that's that. And now I can do some reconnaissance. We can all see I have a reconnaissance unit sitting underneath that ADF marker, but there's nobody in range of him. 1, 2, 3. Yep. Nobody within range of him where he could try to fix somebody. So we have nothing to do. Yeah. Yeah. You like that, huh?
Yep. Very fancy.
Very, very fancy. Only the best at a hot, dry season. So, all right. So we're done with the, there's a search segment, but there's no cache searches in this scenario. So that doesn't apply.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay.
We are done with the first ISR phase.
Okay. So then we're going to go to the fires phase.
And you go first.
Aviation may move. Loading and unloading missions may occur after the movement. All right. So in that case, we're going to move some air. So air has 3 chances to move during the turn, right?
Air?
Yeah, aviation.
No, if you look in total, so you've got an aviation step in the ISR phase.
Right.
In the fires phase. You have it in your operations phase. In the final ISR phase. And then anything that's out there must return home in the refresh phase.
Right.
So you can move 5 times is what it looks like.
Okay.
Well, maybe I'm counting wrong. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, really 5, but the last one's returned to base. So 4 times.
All right, so we're going to move this artillery. We got to find somewhere for him to land up here, too.
Thanks.
That's going to be
Gordon's
the
like,
problem.
Gordon reminded me, he's like, 0 is 10, dude. You dummy.
All right,
Dummy
so
designer.
we've got Jungle Hills at Dense Jungle. And that's basically it. And so the question is, where can they actually land?
So those are air mobile infantry, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if we look at the terrain effects chart,
Right.
it's got an LZ section. It tells you
Okay.
who can land there.
So this particular unit is actually not air mobile, or
Right.
is it air mobile because it's being flown in by chopper?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. So air mobile would be that air mobile artillery.
Okay.
So that guy cannot land. If we look at the chart, pull it up for a second. It can only land in hexes that say all.
Okay. All right. But the air mobile guys can land there.
For the LZ.
Right.
Correct.
All right. So dense jungle is okay. So we're going to drop these here, I think. And then the other chopper flying in the non-air mobile artillery. What about this Appbasser in 3215? What is
3215? 3215. That is Jungle Hills.
Okay, so that village in it does not override that for this purpose. There's other terrain, so no.
Right. No.
All right. So
you can't land in Jungle Hills.
Mm-hmm. At all.
Dense jungle or light jungle. Right.
Right. So up here we have a light jungle, which can't land there. So I'm not sure I see the value in putting these guys on choppers in the first place. I mean, I could put them back here.
You could put them in like 2213 or 2214.
Yeah, which sounds like a good idea, actually. That's where we'll go.
Okay. And
theoretically, something can be done from that hex.
Right. Go ahead and move all the rest of your aviation.
I think that's
make sure you're done.
It, right?
Yeah. If you don't want that guy to get shot at by the ADF, you could just move him away, which I would do. Remember, I get to shoot at you at the end. Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
So can he just go back to FSB Daotiang?
You can move him wherever you want. As a practical play matter, I advise not doing that because you might forget about him. But you could just have him hovering wherever you want. Move him away.
Well, he could go right here too.
Yeah, it's a good spot. So, all right. So that's that, and you're keeping the gunship where it is.
Yes.
All right. You're done moving. Now you may load and unload. So.
All right. So that means that these guys will go right here. This guy will go right here, and then these aviation get marked complete, right?
Right. All the aviation gets marked complete, and then
well, these other guys up north here near concealment marker 7, they have not flown a second mission yet, correct?
They are not complete. Just the guys you did the loading and unloading.
Then I got it.
And then for the guys the air mobile guys you landed. Give them landed status.
Okay.
And that's what the marker looks like. And for the artillery, give them move status.
I'm not seeing a landed status for this air mobile artillery. I see a moved status.
Yeah. So where's the artillery?
This is in 3014.
Let me see what he looks like. Just go ahead and unfix him for a second.
Oh.
Yeah.
There you go.
So you did fly. That's an air mobile. So he gets a moved status. Sorry, I thought you had two normal air mobile units there. He gets moved just like the other artillery. and the other the infantry gets a landed step.
Okay, we got that then.
Okay, so that's it. You've done your aviation step. 'Tis over. All right, so now we go to, let's go back to sequence of play.
Mm-hmm. Fire's resolution step.
Right. So now you can do interdiction missions if you so wish. Now, the two guys you just moved, when artillery moves, that's why they have those status markers.
Mm-hmm.
They can only fire defensively.
Okay.
So they're out of the picture for everything we're talking. So, okay. So, but interdiction mission. So at this time, if you had any artillery you wanted to do an interdiction mission, you would do an interdiction mission. So for those US are like a 105 battery, a marker would be placed within a hexen range that looks like this. So it's doing a constant 3 bombardment in that hex. So if anybody, either side, moves into the hex, right, they get a 3 attack on the fires phase, and it costs one to an extra movement point to leave an adjacent hex, and an extra 2 to leave that hex.
Okay.
But I'm assuming you don't want to really do any interdiction mission.
Let's say no for now.
Okay. If an artillery unit and only artillery can do interdiction. That does interdiction. It can't do anything else the rest of the day. Support defenses, support an attack, or do fires. It's just done. It's just fire. So delete. We'll delete that. So next comes bombardment and IDF missions. So you can do bombardments, which is just using air points. You can do fires on concealment markers or fixed units or unfixed units using IDF units at this time. And if you have any available direct fire that you want to combine with an IDF mission, you can throw that in too. And you can add air points to an IDF mission. And we'll talk about the limits as you decide to do what you're going to do here.
Okay, so let's take a look at this bunker with the gunship hovering over it.
Right.
So are you saying that I can attack that hex using the 2 adjacent hexes and add in the gunship's firepower as well?
No. What I am saying is you can attack that hex to fire. So you can use anything that can do direct fire.
Okay.
So it's got that little white symbol.
Right.
Okay. Or anything that has indirect fire can fire at this time and do a pure fire attack. You're not supporting a ground attack. You're just doing fire.
Okay. All right. Well,
and if you look at the RP, the little button that says RP.
Okay.
And I neglected to put your airpoint marker there because I'm a bad host. So I will do that. You have 5 airpoint.
Okay.
So at this time, the US player basically has to choose, whatever I have available to shoot, do I want to do attacks with fire? Or do I want to save stuff to support a ground attack later?
Okay. I think in this case, at least in that hex, I would like to support the ground attack.
Okay. So with that helicopter, okay, so then in order, so that's really your big picture decision here, right? So what we then do is we look at the fire's resolution step and we say, do you want to do any bombardment IDF mission? So the only IDF you have in range that can do anything right now, because you move both your RDF, right, is that HHC company with the three the mortars.
Okay.
And you've also got those guys way out on the road, but don't forget, they got a range of 12.
Oh, let's look at that. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 is not quite enough to get me to that bunker location.
Okay. So then the question is...
I was rather hoping there would be a little toggle to turn on the artillery range.
I could, Francisco could probably do it pretty easily. That's
probably.
A thought. Yeah, there's a lot of selections now, though. Anyway, so really all you have in range is the helicopters, the mortar, and you got 5 air points available. Do you want to use them to do fire on anybody or not?
Okay, so we'll do the two choppers with the 1 direct fire rating. I can shoot at that concealment marker 7, right?
Yes, but then they'll be out of missions and they won't be able to do observation.
Okay. I might be satisfied with that this turn. All right, so let's look at that though. So if I do take that shot, I would be shooting on the fire's resolution table.
That's correct.
Okay.
So we go to that, fit to width.
So modifiers would be a bombardment mission, correct?
No, this would be direct fire. So technically speaking, on the sequence of play, you would be declining to do indirect fire and bombardments and going straight to the direct fires mission.
Okay. So we don't get that -1 for the IDF mission then either.
Right.
There's no fixed units in the hex. Doesn't contain landed units. Every 3 AV over 18, which is not the case. Not attacking U.S. command post. Defenders in a concealment marker would be a shift to the left.
Right.
So we'd be looking at...
Which, as you see, gives you an extra -1 because it's an excess shift, right? And now let's look at the terrain modifier.
Oh, yeah, that's true, too. And they're in, what, dense jungle?
Yes.
They're in dense jungle, which would be... looks like -4.
Right.
And that modifies the roll.
Yeah, so the
so
-5...
at a stupidly large penalty then.
Right.
For an attack that at best is going to be on the lowest column of the table anyway, so it sounds like that's maybe not a great idea.
All right.
Okay, so they're not doing anything. So it sounds like I don't have direct fire?
So it looks to me you don't... The only other thing you could do is shoot at those guys with your attack helicopter, which you want to save for an attack later.
Right. Exactly.
So it sounds like you have no direct fire, and it sounds like you have no indirect fire because it sounds like you don't want to use your mortars to mortar me either.
No, I can. So can I later use that to support an attack?
Yes.
Well, I'll do that then.
If you use it for indirect fire, you cannot support an attack, but you can support defenses.
Okay, I will save them then.
Okay. So let's look at the sequence of play. You see, we just finished your direct fire segment because you said, I don't want to do any fire. Now you get a fire's movement step.
All right,
mechanized and motorized can move.
All right.
It says reaction moves and hasty attacks are possible, and I'll show you what that means if they come up.
All right,
so you can move full movement allowed. Yep.
Let's look at the terrain effects. So the primary road is 1/2 for mech and motor. Yes. All right. So we're going to take the tanks.
All right.
I'll take these recon units instead, actually. That's going to be 1, 2...
Armored cavalry. Yes.
3, 4, 5, 6. So they'll go up there. I think I'm going to keep one of these units in reserve back here. And the other armored cav will go up here as well. That's all 6 of their movement.
Okay.
And then the tanks... That secondary road, I presume, represents a dirt road.
Just not all weather paved.
Okay.
Yeah. Just lesser quality.
Both 5s? They are both 5s. So we'll move these 1, 2, 2.5, 3.5, 4.5. That's as far as they go. We can keep this guy back with him, actually.
Okay.
Let me check his range now. Let's see how effective that is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. He can cover almost that entire enemy deployment zone from the hex he's in. So I'm happy. Actually, I'll move both of them up 1 hex. How about that?
You're being brave. I like that. I like a gutsy man. All right. So fires move. You're done.
Yep, I think so.
All right. Well, I'm going to. So now we do my fires resolutions. So let me see what the heck I'm going to do. So I am going to pull. I'm going to expose some guys. Expose yourselves. Concealment marker 3 is going to empty out.
Okay.
And a recoilless rifle battery and a pretty beefy mortar battery.
Mm-hmm.
Full strength with a little over strength with some 120s, and they are going to open fire on A128. Now, so they're going to fire, but special NLF units in bunkers, right? They can do direct fire.
Mm-hmm.
Only time they, so you pretend like they have a little white thing next to them. They can do direct fire. So what we're going to do is they're going to combine with that IDF and light that guy up. Now, the way I'm walking you through it, because this is the way it works, because I want to explain it. So the maximum IDF you can provide to any mission is 9. So you see there's 9 total here.
Okay.
If I had another mortar battery, I couldn't add it in.
Okay.
To get higher than 9 on the chart, so let me mark these guys as IDF. That shows us all that they did IDF this turn, so they can't support an attack. The only way to get higher than that is to add in either direct fire or air. You follow me? Right, to get higher than that on the chart. So I'm adding in 6, which is the strength of the guys in the bunkers doing the direct fire. So we are on the 15.
Okay.
So we go to the fire's resolution chart, and we're on the 15.
Okay.
Let's look at the mods. So you're fixed, so that's a +1. None of the other stuff there applies. Really? So we now go down to the terrain.
You are -3. I'm in dense jungle.
Dense jungle. -4, actually. So we're at a net -3, right? And there's no column shifts.
So why is it minus? Oh, ground combat mod. Yeah, okay. You're right.
Yep.
Of course.
Yeah. So actually, if you look at the fires chart, look at the very bottom.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you just look down there. See, it says, shows you dense jungle and tells you it's -4. Right.
Okay.
So we know it's all these are cumulative. So it's +1, and then we got -4. So that's a -3.
Okay.
And there's no column shifts because you're not in any infrastructure or a concealment marker, nothing like that. So we go up here and we roll 2d6 -3 on the 15. Let's see what happens. I rolled a 10. That's a good roll.
Okay, so that's a 7.
7. D1S1.
Okay.
They're in trouble. So they're disrupted and they take a step loss.
Okay, so step loss flips the unit, I presume, right?
Correct. Yep.
All right, and then I'm looking for the disrupted marker.
It's the second one. Right, that's what they look like.
Okay.
Yep. And
I like the markers, by the way.
Yeah, he clean and neat. That's the vassal status. Yeah.
Cool.
So he's disrupted, and I destroyed a U.S. step. So I'm happy about that. And that gives me some victory points. And what do I get for a U.S. footstep? Whoa, I get me 2 victory points. So, the NLF is very, very happy. We go ahead and pull up the RP marker. The RP button, I should say. And you'll see I'm moving. I got a NLF victory points, and I'm moving it 1-2 up to there. All right, yay! We scored a hit. All right.
All right, first blood.
First blood.
Don't worry, we're calling Rambo right now.
All right. And let's see. Do I want to do? What about 2? Nope. That's it. We're happy with that for our fires phase. We're happy punching the Americans in the nose.
Okay.
So that is that. And if you look, we go back to sequence of play. That's the fires resolution step.
Okay.
Oh, no, I am going to do one more thing. I'm just going to do direct fire on the other American. Okay?
Okay, from the bunker?
From the other bunker.
Okay.
So I've got a strength of 5. And fixed. So it's the same mod, and you're in dense jungle, I believe, or jungle.
That's Jungle Hills actually, which
So
is
we
still
look at that
-4.
-4, right? So it's a -3 on the 4 to 6. So let's see what happened.
So that's a 5.
D1. He's just disrupted.
All
so
right.
one disruption.
What the values mean here? Oh yeah. What does that do?
So D1, and you see some of them say D2. It means you disrupt two. If there's no thing for excess disruptions, right?
Okay.
If there were 1 unit, nothing happens. So let's go to the ground unit status. Excuse me. So let's look at disrupted. Any unit comes from fires or ground combat. So there are combat penalties. Can't attack. Your movement value's halved. You can't do an automatic reaction move if you're in a CM. That's only for me.
Right.
And you can't perform any CR check. And it's removed in the command phase, but it's not if you're adjacent. Okay. So you got to break contact in order to get undisrupted. So that's something for you to think about later. All right. So the worst has happened. First of the 28th's in trouble, right? You know, they get lit up by those bunkers they ran into yesterday. So, okay. That's it for the fires phase. I'm now done. So we go back to the sequence of play. And you now go to the operations phase. You have the...
Aviation can move. So it sounds like that ground attack we were building up towards is simply not happening now.
Right.
I don't know if I'm moving any additional aviation.
This is where you think about moving it if you want to support an attack.
Well, there's no attack now.
Later. So you're going to move it, right? At the beginning. But you're going to move and attack later.
Right. But the guys who you've just disrupted, everybody that's adjacent to that hex that was going to get attacked.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah. I'm just saying that's how you're thinking about it. You're like, I'm moving the aviation to do stuff, to support something.
Okay. So actually, what we're saying then is this is the point at which we would move that, say, gunship up top here, rather than at the beginning of the turn in the ISR phase.
Right, but it didn't matter. That's what you were planning to do. There was nothing that said I was going to disrupt you and spoil your plans, right?
Well, that's true. All right, so landed. So looking at ground unit transport, the effects of landed guys is that their movement is halved. Air mobile infantry only cannot move if they landed in dense jungle, and they can't perform a CR check. So looking at the landed air mobile infantry.
Right.
They are air mobile infantry, so they can't move.
Right.
Okay. So
normal infantry couldn't even land there, let alone land and not move and attack. Right.
I see what you're saying. All right. So it sounds like I don't have any aviation. Is there any use for me keeping these recon choppers up here next to concealment marker 7? I mean, I guess I could try to reveal that unit again in the final ISR phase.
Correct.
So
right.
We'll keep
but you
them
don't have
there.
to be okay.
Although I don't have to, I could move them wherever right now.
Right. And your complete guys, if you wanted to, you could send those guys back to base.
Well, I might as well, actually.
Right.
I was hoping there was a back to base function, actually. That might be hard to do, actually.
It is hard to do.
Where's the base sheet?
But the end turn function basically removes everything, status, mission completes, all that stuff automatically. The only thing it doesn't remove is interdiction markers and disrupted, which are handled differently.
Okay. Okay, so the completed guy will go back to base. That's this guy as well. This guy's complete. This guy's complete. So they're not doing anything else anyway. Everybody else will stay where they are for now.
Okay. So then, all right. So your aviation step is done.
Yeah. What's the stacking limit, by the way? It's 2 units?
4 units.
4 units, okay.
of any. So 480. So 4 ground units can stack, and 4 aviation units can stack. So you could conceivably have 8 as the U.S. player. You know what I mean? Like 4 of each.
Okay.
And platoons and detachments don't count towards stacking.
All right. So what we will do is the disrupted. Is there a 1 hex minimum move?
Yes.
Okay. So we're moving then to the action step.
Okay.
In which U.S. ground units may move.
Yes.
All right. So we are going to move this guy back a hex, and we'll move this guy back a hex as well.
Sounds wise. Okay.
Okay. But we will also move this guy up a hex.
Okay. All right. And
well, actually, in that case, no, it's totally fine. It's all good.
You're good. You're done? All right. When you moved that guy there, he then becomes fixed. So when you move adjacent.
Because he becomes adjacent.
Right.
Okay.
All
and then
right,
I can also move
all your mechanized
guys.
dudes. Yep.
Okay. So we'll take one of these extremely brave recon guys and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Boy, that seems dumb. We'll put him here.
Okay.
This guy here. I can move the special forces now. Let's look at terrain effects. All right, so Jungle Hills costs 4 to move into. Dense Jungle costs 3 to move into. So we're going to move Jungle Hills for 4. Of course, I don't really want to get these guys into a fight either. I think it's probably better to leave them exactly where they are.
You got the other Special Forces unit guy, though, that can...
Yes. All right, so he's going to go... Secondary road is 1 for guys on foot. It is. All right, so he's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And that's as far as he's going right now.
What about you want to move the tanks or any of the other armored cav guys? Okay.
The one stack down here is going to stay where it is. But the tanks will go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, we'll put them right here.
Okay.
And the recon.
You've also got some guys down at Fire Support Base Dao Tiang. Do you want to move them or you want to keep them there because you want to chopper them later?
Well, I feel like I could get them where they're going a lot faster flying them in. Then again, we don't have a ton of optimal landing area either. Not until we take out that one bunker.
You, sir, are indeed an American commander in Vietnam. Yeah, okay. You're like, yeah, we'll wait for the choppers. Okay, cool.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's nowhere to fly them into that's not like right in the middle of the literal green hell. So, we're gonna hold off and wait for the choppers on them. All right.
So Gordon says, angry mecha infantry commander to you, the U.S. commander, all caps. We're armored cavalry, not recon. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, they probably would get fairly annoyed. All right. Yeah. So you're done moving?
I'm going to keep doing that, but because it's the symbol I'm used to from World War II. That's a recon. That's armored cars used for recon. But this is World War II.
That's armored They called them armored cavalry then too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So you done?
You done with the
action
U.S. movement, yes, and LF reaction moves.
So the way that works is if you move adjacent to me, I can try to react, but you didn't move adjacent to me, except for the bunkers. Right. Except for the bunkers, and it occurs when it happened, and I did not want to react out of the bunker. That's crazy talk, right? Okay. So that's that. For your action step. Do you have any attacks you would like to do?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
All right,
Ooh.
so here's what I got on this one southern bunker. I've got
Okay.
the infantry from the C company here, and then we've got the choppers, and then we've got the mortar,
Okay.
and then if
So
I can use it, they flew in. They can't do anything. So it's
so
just those three.
so I would advise you not. We can make this attack to show
Mm-hmm.
how the system works. Let's do it. But I'm on record saying I don't think you should.
Okay. So this is all right. Well, let's look at
Let
the let's
let's look
look at
at it.
it.
Let's look at it hypothetically.
All right.
So first of all, you can. So for instance, the attack choppers
Uh huh.
and your HHC,
Mm-hmm.
okay, could support this attack.
Okay.
You can support with fire up to double your ground strength.
Mm-hmm.
So you could throw in a maximum, like the artillery that's hanging out there with the 9 value.
Right.
You've got enough where you could get to that level, which is 15.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because it'd be 5 ground plus 12 plus 10 support, right? So that's
Okay.
15.
So up to twice the ground factors.
Right.
Okay.
The ground factors in the combat you can support up to double with fire support. All right.
Okay.
But let's look at the combat chart and see what would occur
Okay.
hypothetically. So we go to the attack step resolution.
And let's figure it at 15.
Right. That's
All
what
right.
that's
So
what you'd be attacking with.
We'd be looking at 15 to 8, but what does the bunker do to those guys?
Fit with and bear in mind I can provide defensive fire. So right now you have visible in front of you.
Right.
You can see that I have 9 factors that I could throw in defense. So as of right now, you'd be attacking with 15 against 15.
Okay. So this sounds like a terrible idea.
Right.
At a substantial penalty.
But let's pretend I didn't have the fire and I was just fire.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's still 1 to 1 though.
Right. No, you'd be 15 attacking 6. Okay?
Why 6?
I'm sorry, I did not see the right value. You're correct. You'd be attacking 8, which is my defense strength. Right.
So
6
1 to 1.
15. You'd be 15 attacking 8.
Oh, you're using the true rounding rule.
Yeah, there's a true rounding rule in this game, so it would round up to a 2 to 1.
Okay, so 2 to 1.
Right.
And then
now let's look at the mod.
Yeah. So the terrain right off the top is a -4.
Right. Now look at the attack mods.
All right. Attacker support strength is greater than the defender ground defense, which would be the case.
Correct.
So that's worth a +1. Attacker support strength double or greater than defender ground strength, which would not be the case.
Correct.
Attacking for more than 2 hexes, which I think is definitely not the case here.
Right.
Defending hex contains patrolling units, no. Contains strung out units, no. Contains disrupted units, no. Mech is not present. Armor is not present. To the NLF, if the force contains unfixed units. If the NLF force or the target force.
That's NLF force. These are attack for the attacker, so it's attack modifiers.
Okay.
Right.
Defending hex landed unit or moved units, no. Attacking U.S. command post, FSP, or U.S. base, no. Looking at the column shifts, NLF is defending in bunker, which would be worth a column shift down
to 1 to 1.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's it. So we'd be
looking at a 1 to 1 with a -3.
Right.
That sounds like a terrible idea.
Yeah, you are correct. I think it's a terrible idea for you to.
Okay. So that attack kind of gets, well, in the name of concentrating the firepower. So, all right. I don't think I'm making that attack then.
Okay. So you're not making an attack.
No, that seems crazy.
So, all right. So no attacks to be made. We shall now go to the next step of the sequence of play, which is the NLF action step.
Mm-hmm.
In the operations phase, I'm going last in ops. So action step, I can move and you can react if need be. So what are we? This presents an interesting opportunity. But you've backed off. And I don't think I really want to bum rush you. Because if I attack him, you're going to have a defensive 6. And you're going to be able to max out the defensive support.
There's quite a bit of defensive support available.
Right. So it can go up to double the defense strength. So it'd be up by 12. So you'd be defending with an 18. So that's going to guide my moves thus. So let me... Oh, I should add. I forgot to do this. You moved that recon unit when you moved underneath the helicopter. So I'm going to show you a reaction move. So concealment marker 7 is doing a reaction move to there. Okay. So concealment marker's reaction move is 1 hex, and it cannot be. Let me double check. He may not be able to go there. It can't be into a Zoc. Your Zoc can't go there because you're mechanized.
Because I can't move there.
Right.
Okay.
So, actually, I'm dead wrong. Your Zoc does extend there. So
I can shoot that jungle up.
Right. So we're going to actually go there.
Okay.
So that's a reaction move. Concealment markers do them automatically. Everybody else has to do a CR check. So it's an option to break contact, but you got to do a CR check to make it happen. But concealment markers automatically move. So he did that. All right. So now on to my movement phase. Let's see here. He is going to go 2 because he ignores Zocs. 4 to there. That guy's going to stay there. Those guys are going to stay there. Look at the other concealment. These guys are going to go boom, boom. These guys are going to go boom, boom. And need that. Boop. Like you didn't know. And this guy is gonna go there. No, he's gonna go there. Okay, so that's that. We have completed our movement, and we are not doing any attack.
Okay.
So then we go to
finalize
surface. Right.
Okay. So at this time, you may place all, none, or some available concealment markers. So does that one concealment marker that you pulled off earlier, is it available now or not till next time?
No. So let's see where it got pulled off. So pull up the game turn track.
The game turn track. This thing? The game turn
track. And you see where it says revealed concealment markers?
Gotcha. Okay.
Those get gathered up at each command phase, the beginning of the at the beginning of the next turn.
Okay.
So I have none available.
And you have a set number of concealment markers available per scenario, right?
Or campaign, right. And in a larger scenario, it's a good strategy for the NLF player to like keep a few in his pocket for the final if he wanted to, or found it useful to do so. So, but here there's only 7, so I ain't doing that. So yeah, I got no concealment to do. So over to you for aviation.
All right. So aviation units can move. So let's.
Now notice the crafty language here.
Mm-hmm.
It says loading missions may occur after move.
Mm-hmm.
So the last time the U.S. player can unload is in his operations.
Yes, and actually I did notice that during our off-camera walkthrough last week.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna again try and reveal that concealment marker 7.
Okay, so for your aviation move, you're not moving anybody. You want to move that gunship to protect those guys just in case maybe there's some ADF in it or something?
Sure.
Yeah.
Since they're not supporting anything over there anymore.
The best spot to place him is thither. That way,
that's true.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Very good. All right. So that's going to be the entire aviation movement.
Right. I have no ADF fire.
Okay.
Which is my time to do it. So now we go to the
intelligence step.
Next? Right. So we go back to that ASA detachment. You get to pick a concealment marker. Right.
Okay. We'll pick number 4, and we'll guess PLAF.
Let's see what's in number 4. You are correct. Go ahead and if you look on the chart, like it says, go ahead and roll, and you're not modified by terrain, so take a CR check.
Okay. And he's what is he? A 6? He's a 6.
Yep.
He's rolled a 10.
Fail. All right, so 4 is removed, and this guy is...
The Vassal Die Roller is coming through in its usual fashion for me.
It's your best friend, man. So that's removed from play.
I'm gonna find the guy who wrote this algorithm, and there are gonna be some stern words spoken.
There's a unit there, and it's unfixed. Yep. Okay, so that's it for your intelligence.
Okay.
Now let's do your surveillance, which is those 2 choppers.
All right. So surveillance versus concealment marker.
Right.
So we got a CM, but the target hex's mod applies, and he is in what? Dense jungle? Jungle. Is that Jungle Hills?
That is dense jungle.
That's dense jungle. So dense jungle is -4 to aviation for this attempt, and they are 6s. So I guess we'll roll for the northernmost guy first.
Okay.
And he will roll a d10. He has rolled a 6, which is a big fat nothing. And let's roll for the guy to the south. Same roll. 5, which is also nothing.
All right, their mission complete.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll mark them. All right, yeah, good. And that's that for the surveillance. Now we go to reconnaissance.
All right, and we have... they are out of range. Where's that other recon unit? Okay, I do have a recon unit adjacent, in fact, to that concealment marker 7.
Okay.
Okay. So looking at ISR, we're doing recon versus a concealment marker. So we're going to choose, he's in range. We're going to make the roll. He is a 7, -4. 3. He actually has succeeded.
It's actually -3 for dense jungle. So it's slightly better, because if you look at the dense jungle thing, it's -4 for aviation, -3 everything. All right, so you got him.
Okay, yeah, he's not aviation anymore.
So all units in him have to be revealed, as you see on the chart, right? Revealed fixed, because it's eyes on, it's a team spotting them.
Right.
However, this is a dummy.
Okay.
So now we go to, so it just goes away.
So that answers the previous dummy question then.
Yes. So. That's it. That's what happens when they're dummies.
Okay.
So, and I now get to do my reconnaissance. And I've got a guy who is there in this hex. I'm going to turn on his recon. And we are going to attempt to do an unfixed recon against unfixed against that dude that's unfixed. Forces.
Okay.
Right. Just to do it. And that's automatic. And because there's nobody adjacent who's fixed, so I'm not even going to bother. Right? Because it's you follow what I'm saying? I'll show you. Let me walk you through the chart out.
Okay.
So go to ISR and command. Reconnaissance versus unfixed.
Right.
First and final ISR phase. Choose a hex. If unsuccessful, units in selected hex are fixed. If I'm successful, it's a radius effect. So it's just like that thing you did with the chopper against the unfixed units.
Oh, okay. So it's not automatic. It just will do what you wanted it to do in this case.
Right. Because
without whether you fail or succeed the roll.
Right. Because there's nobody else. There's no benefit to, because like if I made the roll, his target is dense jungle, I would have made it and I still wouldn't have gotten anything.
Okay.
So just him. So all right, so that's all right. So they're fixed now. Excellent. So that's that. And now we go to finally the refresh phase.
Refresh phase. Okay.
So all aviation units must return to an eligible basing area for spooky and red haze.
All right, and they're not out. They're not. Right. They're not in this scenario at all. Correct.
Right.
Okay.
And here's the thing. Any units currently loaded are unloaded there. So that final ISR phase is a good time. Like if there was a unit that was disrupted and in trouble, vulnerable for the U.S., you could go move there, load a guy, right, and get him the heck out. Because he'd automatically return to base in the refresh step and be unloaded.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. All right. I feel like I'm missing an air unit somewhere.
So move on. Yeah, your gunship's still out.
There it is. I got it.
Yeah. So they all go back to fire support base Dao Tiang.
Okay.
And let's look at the chart. And remove all well, for the rest of this, it's pretty easy in this module, but you remove all status markers except disruption and interdiction markers and advance the game turn step. Here, you just hit the end button.
Boom.
Boom.
Okay.
Everybody's clean.
Sweet.
Yep. Everybody's clean.
So
notice,
also point something out. Something really
notice neat. This. By the way, notice this disruption marker. Like the other status markers I had out went away, but the disruption marker stayed. Right.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Something here's. Watch this. It's neat. I'm looking at hex 3014. Right. Notice that the unfixed marker is the banner that goes on the counter when it's unfixed is across the bottom, which means that when you expand the stack, you can see which units are fixed and unfixed. That's good thinking by the Vassal module designer.
Francisco Colamares. Fantastic designer. Right, yeah, absolutely. So that's that. That's the end of game turn 1. We look at the game record track and make sure, yep, it advanced 1. And we're at 2 hours, so it's probably a good time to save it.
Yep.
And we can pick this up. What were your thoughts, Gary? I'm curious.
So I like a lot of what I see here. I mean, Vietnam is not a subject that I have done much gaming in. But I'm looking to do more gaming on the topic, actually. So as we have gone through various other games that have tried to model sort of similar, say, BCS with its attempt to model artillery, and this is a different subject, right? Artillery is going to get used, and air is going to get used differently here. I from what I have seen so far, I like the way that barrage-type units are being modeled, and I like the way that concealment is being modeled with multiple layers of concealment and with the different ISR types to try to reveal different pieces of information about the opponent without necessarily, although you do have an off-map display that is carrying the contents of those concealment markers. It's pretty... I think it's a pretty clean way to handle what is really a traditionally difficult mechanic for war games, right?
Yeah. It I also, as you just study, like I was saying, you could play any. I would say to include the Second World War, right?
Yeah.
There are distances. You could play any game and have there be a fixed and unfixed system like this. That's the way at the operational scale this stuff works.
Yeah.
We just inherited a history of World War II open information.
Yeah.
But there were recon units,
a topic so thoroughly covered too with World War II. That's so thoroughly covered that really only the most corner of corner cases are yet untapped by the wargaming design community, right?
But you had basic things that involve, like a good example is like in OCS or BCS, for instance, or SCS. Like you can't examine anything but the top unit in the stack.
Right.
That's limited information.
And the penalty for no spotter and things like that, which is not really what that's representing, right? It's not representing you have physical eyes on the guy. It's representing whether the unit is fixed or unfixed for the purposes of the barrage.
Right. Fixed and unfixed is a more modern term starting in Vietnam back to Korea, and it's more of a targeting term. Mm-hmm. It has more to do with fires. But it reflects the status of what we're talking about.
Yes.
That, if you run up and you're attacking a position, you fix yourself, right? Because you're moving adjacent. They're unfixed. You attack. There's going to be a small penalty. You don't know how they're disposed.
Right.
That position has not been thoroughly, given reconnaissance.
Right.
So, aside from not knowing exactly the value, in a post play, there's combat effects. And the same thing for the concealment markers, right?
Yes.
So you could attack a concealment marker. It's just risky business. You know?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You're shooting at the jungle because you know the enemy is there.
Right. And if you do a ground attack, who knows what's in there?
Yeah.
Right?
All right, folks, we're out of time. I would like to
Yep.
thank you all for coming. Please thank Pat for sitting in with us on this. And
thank you all for watching.
We will be
absolutely.
back. Pat and I will be playing P Ridge on Sunday, starting at 2 p.m. Eastern. So tune in for that, and I'll have a streams scheduled for next week before that. So thanks everybody for watching.
Bye-bye, everybody.